It is time to continue another yearly off-season series that I do here on the channel. The very first one I did was, I think, over 3 years ago now, which is pretty crazy, but we got some NHL over or under today. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'll briefly explain how this works. It's pretty simple though. Basically, I just ask you guys for a player name and a point total, or it could be a goaltender and a save percentage or something along the lines of that. I read through all the comments, pick some out, and then in a video like this, I predict if I think the player will go over or under the given total this upcoming season. I made the community tab post last night and you guys absolutely killed it. There's almost 400 comments on the post already. Obviously, I can't feature them all and answer them all in this video, but just know I read every single one and I appreciate every single one of you guys who took the time to come up with a comment. Let's get things started with the first comment. This one comes from Jay in the Tub 2, who says Elias Lindholm over or under 90 points. He was pretty close last year, but does his total go up or down with Hubie, aka Huberto? I think I'm going to go ahead and take the under on this one. I still think Calgary's going to be good. I've said that, after the Matthew Tkachuk trade and after Johnny Gaudreau left in free agency, but I don't think that Lindholm is going to be able to replicate the season that he just had, and like you said, he was close but didn't even achieve 90 points this past season. You have to imagine it's going to be a little bit difficult for Elias Lindholm going from playing with Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau for an entire season, the chemistry they built together, them being one of the most dominant lines in the league, to then the following season playing with two entirely different line mates, one of which in Jonathan Huberdeau wasn't even on your team the previous season. I still think he should have a good season playing with a playmaker like Huberdeau, but I do expect there to be a little bit of an adjustment period, so I don't think he's going to replicate his production from last season. The next question we have comes from Tony, who says Alexis Lafreniere 50 plus points. In my opinion, it really depends on if Gallant puts him in the top 6. I'm definitely taking the over on this one. Obviously, his first couple seasons in the NHL probably didn't go as everybody expected them to. Obviously, this was a player with a ton of hype heading into the 2020 draft, but the season he just had I think is definitely one he can build off of. He was only one goal shy of 20, and that's despite only averaging 14 minutes of ice time per game. Heading into year 3 now, I fully expect that to go up by, you would hope, like around 2 minutes, and as far as your point goes of him playing in the top 6, when you look at the Rangers depth chart and projected lineups heading into this season, you have to think Lafreniere is almost a lock to play in the top 6. Honestly, I fully expect him to end up on that top line, and if that happens and he stays healthy, I think a 25 goal, 50 plus point season is easily achievable for him. This next one comes from Eliminator, very interesting one here. Mason McTavish over under 50 points. I'm gonna try not to have any recency bias here. Obviously, McTavish is absolutely lighting up the World Juniors right now. However, even before that, he was one of my favorites for the Calder Trophy heading into this upcoming season. I thought he looked really good in the 9 games he played with the Ducks to start this past season, and realistically, as a forward in an 82 game season, you're probably gonna have to have around or at least 50 plus points to be in the Calder Trophy conversation, and I expect McTavish to be in that conversation, so for that reason, I am going to go ahead and take the over on this one, but when it comes to rookies, it's really hard to predict their totals and stuff. Moving on now, this next question comes from IRL88 NHL, Mo Sider over under 60 points. This is a very tough one. He obviously just had 50 points as a rookie, played all 82 games. Detroit is going to have more talent around him on the roster this upcoming season. I expect the power play to be a little bit better, which maybe should help his point total because he's definitely going to be the one quarterbacking the top power play unit. When it comes to the Red Wings and Red Wings players especially, I like to keep my expectations in check, so I'm actually going to take the under on this one, but I feel like he's only going to finish slightly under, like maybe between 55, 58 points, somewhere in that range, but obviously I hope I'm wrong and I hope he exceeds 60. Next up, we have another sophomore heading into next season, Matt Boldy, 60 points. I'm definitely taking the over on this one. I really believe Matt Boldy has the potential to be one of the best wingers in the NHL. The fantastic rookie season that Matt Boldy just had, I feel like often gets overlooked because he only played 47 games, but among rookies that played 40 plus games, he had the highest points per game, had 39 in 47 games. I honestly believe if he played like 75 plus games, he would have won the Calder, and that's coming from a Red Wings fan too, so again, I'm definitely taking the over on this one. Matt Boldy, 60 plus points. I fully expect him to finish like second on the Wild in scoring behind Kaprizov, especially with Fiala gone. Next up, this question comes from Luke Fox, who says Alex DeBrincat over or under 40 goals. He did it with Kane and won't have an elite puck mover on his line, so I'd love to hear your thoughts, and also I appreciate the kind words. This is definitely a really good one. DeBrincat has achieved the 40 goal mark twice already in his career, but like you said, that was playing with Patrick Kane, who is literally one of the greatest playmakers of our generation. That being said though, in Ottawa, no matter which line he ends up on, first or second, he's likely going to be playing with two incredibly talented line mates. There's a possibility of him playing with Stützle and Giroux, Norris and Batherson. Like I said, either way, he's going to have some really good line mates, but still I'm probably probably going to take the under on this one because obviously none of those guys I just mentioned are the kind of playmaker that Patrick Kane is, the kind of setup man that he is, and it's only natural to expect a little bit of an adjustment period going to a new team, getting used to your new line mates, getting chemistry with those new line mates. So again, I'm taking the under of 40 goals, but I definitely fully expect him to still be a 30 plus goal scorer at the very least. Next up, this one comes from Rob Bob. Chris Kreider, 60 points with 40 goals. Do you think he's going to drop off or live up to his phenomenal scoring last year? I'm definitely expecting to see a pretty significant drop in Kreider's production this upcoming season. I mean, this was a guy who, prior to this past season, had never even scored 30 goals in a single season before, and then boom, he exploded for 52. So I think it only makes sense to expect his production to come down at least a little bit. 40 goals, 60 points. I mean, I feel like that is still achievable for him, but I am going to take the under on those. I'm kind of expecting him to be in that 30 to 35 goal range. However, I could definitely see a scenario where he achieves 60 plus points, which is half of your question, but doesn't score 40 goals. I could see that happening for sure. From Scott Jordan, Andre Burakovsky, over or under 55 points. He was amazing last year with Colorado. It depends on how well he plays with Seattle, who is nowhere near the playoffs. I could see it go either way, and also I appreciate the kind words. I actually am going to take the over on this one. Burakovsky just had 61 points with the Avalanche this past season, and I guess you could maybe expect a little bit of a drop since he's going from, you know, the best team in the NHL to a team that's kind of still rebuilding, but then you could also counter argument that with he's going to have a bigger role with Seattle than the role he played with Colorado this past year. So that's kind of my reasoning for taking the over. He's going to play a bigger role. Seattle needed to address scoring this offseason. They did that, getting the likes of Burakovsky and also adding Bjorkstrand. Let's get a goalie one in here. This one comes from Fusion, who says over under 915 save percentage for Ville Husso. He had a 919 last year in 40 games. Again, like I said with Cider, I do like to keep my expectations in check when it comes to Red Wings players, so I am taking the under here, but also I feel like it only makes sense to expect to see his numbers come down a little bit. I mean, he broke out kind of out of nowhere this past season, and let's be real, despite all the additions the Red Wings made this offseason, St. Louis is still a much better defensive team and just a much better team in general, so Ville Husso isn't going to have that playing in front of him. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period there for Ville Husso. I mean, we saw that last season with Nedeljkovic. Next up from Jonathan Payne, Kirill Kaprizov, over under 100 points. 108 last year, but losing Fiala might impact how many he gets on the power play. I like that you added the power play part because he actually rarely played with Fiala at 5-on-5. He played with Hartman and Zuccarello for the majority of the season. I'm definitely going to take the over on this one, even considering they lost Fiala. I still think Kaprizov is going to be just fine. He's one of the absolute best players in the league. He's a game breaker. He's a player I expect to be like a perennial 100 point guy for the next, 5 to 6 years. Moving on now, this one comes from Keithan Murray, who says Evander Kane over or under 40 goals. Personally, him and McDavid would do something special, and in the postseason, we've seen that he can pull off those goals at will. And also, thank you for the kind words. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Evander Kane did score at a 40 goal pace in the regular season with the Oilers. If not, it was very close to it, and then obviously he lit it up in the postseason. I don't really expect him to keep scoring at that rate though across a full 82 game season, so I am going to take the under on this one. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like barely under, like between 35 and 38 goals, somewhere in that range. This is a guy who's had a couple 30 goal seasons in his career before. He's probably in his best situation ever when you consider the players he gets to play with. If he's not playing with McDavid, he's probably playing with Draisaitl. Definitely expecting him to set career highs in terms of goals and points, but I'm going to say slightly under 40, so again, I'm taking the under. Next up, this one comes from Ice Bubble YT, who says Sidney Crosby over or under 75 points. Actually, heading into this past season, in my bold predictions video, I said that I think Crosby's going to finish under a point per game for the first time in his career. Obviously, that didn't happen. It wasn't even close to happening. Crosby finished 15 points over a point per game. Even at 35, he's still one of the absolute best players on the planet, so I'm not going to make the mistake of doubting Crosby again. I'm definitely taking the over on this one. And now for the final one of this episode, Jack Hughes point total 100 points. Is this the year he finally pops off? I would actually kind of argue he was sort of popping off this past season. He just didn't stay healthy, but in the 50 or so games he played, he was a beast. So let's get a little bit bold to finish off the episode. I'm going to take the over on this. I think Jack Hughes breaks the 100 point mark this upcoming season. He is one of the most exciting offensive players to watch in the entire league. I think as the Devils get better and the team grows around him, it's only going to make it that much easier for him to get better and for him to put up bigger numbers. So again, Jack Hughes over 100 points. So that is going to wrap up this episode of NHL Over or Under. If you enjoyed and you want to see another episode before the upcoming season starts, be sure to leave this video a like. Let me know you enjoyed down below in the comment section, and also feel free to play along along down in the comments as well. Let me know your picks for all the questions we went over in this video. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.